Ari.
How do you take compliments? Do they sit well for you? I spoke with communications trainer Wendy Demonari about just that, and I asked her, what are some of the do's and don'ts about giving compliments?
A lot of people aren't very at ease about accepting compliments, so we'll have to talk about that. So some of the do's, let's look at some of the do's. I think you've got to be sincere. When you're giving a compliment, it should come from the heart, yeah? It's got to sound genuine. You've got to be specific. I know that when I work with young people, with teenagers, and it's not enough to simply say, oh, good job. You've got to be quite specific about what they've done, what you're complimenting them about. So, well done for doing this in this amount of time, for example, something like that. Use positive language as well when you're giving a compliment. So don't use negative language or use sort of like that backhanded compliment. So because it could be interpreted as being a little bit insincere and it could be insulting and offensive.
Yes. And probably our nature is also to question sometimes.
Of course.
So if you tell somebody, oh, you look nice today, they think, today? You kind of read between the lines, even if that's not the intent. And even today you said, oh, that's a nice top. And you were very specific about my compliment. So I didn't read too much into it because you filled out the details.
Now, how did you feel when I said to you, well, that's a nice top? I mean, I was speaking with absolute sincerity because I like what you're wearing because I've got similar ones as well.
Yeah. I do feel really awkward about compliments. I wonder if that's a bit of an Aussie thing, that sort of fear of that tall poppy kind of.
Yeah, I think it could be. It's like, oh, I don't want to be, big head myself. I don't want to sort of come across as being posh or up myself or things like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Could be that. Yeah.
Very interesting.
Well, some of the don'ts, so don't give a compliment with ulterior motives. So the idea is when you're giving a compliment, it should be genuine, come from the heart. You're not giving it to get something back in return. Okay. You don't be insincere about it. Don't be inappropriate. So you may think you're complimenting someone, but it may actually backfire.
Yes. Yeah. Have you got an example of something that might fit that?
I don't know. Sure. Well, I've had in the past people say to me, you're looking healthy, when I know I've put on 3 kilos.
It may be touching a nerve of somebody who,
well, it could.
You might think, that something is very flattering for somebody's figure, but that might be something they're really self-conscious about. That sort of thing.
Exactly. That's right. Yeah.
Interesting. What about, I've mentioned that I'm not very good at accepting compliments. What are some of the do's and don'ts about accepting compliments?
Okay. So, look, I think when you're given a compliment, the first thing you should do is just simply say thank you. Okay. It's a very simple and effective way of accepting the compliment. Be gracious. Smile. Show that you are genuinely grateful for the compliment. Just kind of avoid sort of deflecting that compliment or downplaying it. Or saying, things like, I should have gone to Specsavers. Things like this.
Yes.
I mean, So, dismissing the compliment is actually a little bit disrespectful of the person who's giving it to you. They're not just doing it for the sake of doing it.
Yes.
Okay. Or, don't say things like, oh, it's nothing, or nah, it's not a big deal. Things like that. Don't argue or contradict the compliment.
Yes.
Another thing is also don't get into a battle of compliments.
Oh, yes.
Do you know what I'm talking about when I say that?
Well, maybe if you're saying, oh, that's a great top, and I say, well, you're wearing great pants or
Oh, but no, yours is better.
Yes.
And, oh, no, you look even, more fabulous than I do. So, it's not a competition.
Yeah.
We don't have to get into a battle of compliments here. Don't also deflect the compliment onto somebody else. Say, oh, yeah, but, you're so much better than I am at that, or you would look better in that outfit than I would. Yeah, so there's sort of things that I would say to just accept it, in a genuine, heartfelt way. Yeah.
I like there's a meme that goes around on social media and he's, oh, that's a nice dress. And ladies say, thanks, it has pockets. Because that's the goal of all dresses, right?
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Or, I've even heard myself say, oh, this old thing.
Yes.
Actually, I do say that to my husband when he says, oh, you look good. Is that something new? And maybe it is, but I say, oh, no, this old thing, I've had this for ages. Well, that's just a little thing that I think a lot of people do with their partners, But I think, accept those compliments for what they are, because if you don't, if you deflect and if you get into a bit of battle of compliments and try to downplay things, it actually is a little bit disrespectful and it could be considered a little bit sort of insulting, or you're showing that you don't really appreciate the other person.
And maybe they'll be less inclined to give you compliments in future, maybe too.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think take it on, take the compliment, accept it for what it is, and celebrate that moment and feel good about yourself in that moment.
Own it,
baby, own it.
Communications trainer Wendy Daminari from Work Ready NQ there.
You're listening to Susan Graham Ryan on ABC Radio Queensland.